What's up, everybody? Hope you enjoyed the video on the La Plata hike. So originally we were supposed to go to the Maroon Bells and hike the 4-pass loop, which would have been a 3-day backpacking trip. Due to some unfortunate circumstances, we were not able to get away for 2 nights. So instead, we wanted to try to find a 1-night trip that we could do. I posted something on the Facebook 4-pass loop group because I knew that we would be in that area. And I got a lot of really good suggestions, one of which I hadn't thought of, which was to summit a 14'er. For those that don't know, a 14'er is a mountain summit of over 14,000 feet elevation, of which Colorado has many. We were staying near Carbondale, and there are quite a few to choose from in that area. There is a pretty impressive mountain that was literally right across from our Airbnb called Mount Sopris. It is not a 14'er, but if you were to see it, you would probably think that it was because it's very magnificent. We considered possibly summiting that, but one of the suggestions I got was for a mountain called La Plata, which is on the other side of Independence Pass. First of all, let me tell you, Independence Pass is kind of scary. I know people that maybe are familiar with that area are probably used to it. In fact, I was probably the annoying tourist who was going way too slow because other people behind me were pretty much just treating it like a normal day. It's a very steep mountain pass. Basically, it's switchbacks that go up the mountains and get to about 12,000 feet of elevation. And along the way, there is no shoulder in some parts and also no railing. So literally all there is between you and thousands of feet of drop are maybe 4 or 5 feet. So anyways, when we were trying to decide which 14'er to do, I looked at quite a few options. One of them was Mount Elbert, which is actually the tallest mountain in Colorado. But ultimately, we settled on La Plata, which is the 5th tallest mountain in Colorado. Mount Elbert is extremely popular and very crowded. So we wanted to do something that was a little bit less popular. And I had seen a lot of really cool stuff about La Plata. It seemed that the hike up was very interesting and there was some really cool parts to see. Another reason I picked La Plata was because I had read that there was a meadow valley about 1,000 feet up, and I knew that would be a perfect spot for us to stop and camp. So most people do this as a day hike. They get there at the trailhead very early, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they try to summit before 11-ish because that's when the weather rolls in. Monsoon season in Colorado basically means that mountains get storms around 11 to 1 pretty much every day. So sure enough, we found the valley that I had read about, and it had some excellent places to camp. I camped in probably the coolest campsite I've ever camped at. There was nobody anywhere around. Like I said, most people do this as a day hike. So we had this huge meadow all to ourselves. I didn't make it to the summit. I actually made it to about 500 or 600 feet from the summit, and I started to get altitude sickness. It's nothing that I've ever experienced before, but I've also never been, hovering around 14,000 feet elevation before. It was not too bad. It's just that I was getting very, very dizzy and my head was starting to pound, and we still had quite a ways to go, and it was probably around 10 a.m. at that point. So I didn't want to hold back my daughter Lucy and my friend Barry from getting to summit because I felt like if we took the pace that I was going to need to be okay, we would probably put us up there at noon or something like that, and we might run into some bad weather. So I went ahead and just kind of sat down, ate, took some Advil, drank some more water, and then I also descended a few hundred feet, started feeling a lot better, got some good shots of them going up, coming back down. Still had some shots of the summit in the video. That was thankfully because my friend Barry took some shots. So kind of a bummer, but I was pretty much almost there, and I still got some really killer views. I just didn't get the whole 360 panorama from the top. Just to touch on some other things that we did while we were in Colorado, we went to the Maroon Bells, which is where we were originally going to hike, and we hiked up to Crater Lake, which is not very far. I want to say it's like a 1.5 mile hike. Really beautiful place. I would love to go back, and I definitely still want to do the 4-pass loop. It looked amazing. I was super jealous when I saw some of the other backpackers who were obviously starting. We also visited a ghost town called Ashcroft, which is kind of close to the Maroon Bells. Pretty neat. Old silver mining town, which La Plata, by the way, is the Spanish name for silver. Obviously, silver mining was a huge thing in the 1800s, but it's definitely a cool thing to go and check out. It's right along a river that's really beautiful, and we had a nice time just sort of picnicking and checking out the old buildings. We also went climbing in Rifle, which Rifle is literally one of the most famous sport climbing locations in the U.S. Tons and tons of climbing. You basically drive in, and there's 2 massive 60-foot walls on both sides of the road that you just snake through for about 2 or 3 miles, and all along it are epic rock climbs. On one of the last days they were there, we had a pretty cool experience. We took the new family car, the Subaru, up Mount Basalt. The Subaru held up like a champ. It was really fun to get to drive it up some switchbacks. Kind of felt like I was putting it in where it actually belonged rather than flat East Texas, where I'm from. And the kids had fun because we kind of got to go up and feel a little bit of the mountain air, and they got to run around a little bit. On the way there and back, we stopped at a state park near the Colorado and New Mexico border called Lake Trinidad State Park. And this was a pretty good choice. We actually really enjoyed it. The campsites were nice, and there were some nice trails nearby, and the view on the lake was absolutely gorgeous. So if you're heading to Colorado from Texas and you need a place to stop and spend the night, Trinidad Lake State Park is not a bad choice. I tried a new backpack on this trip. I used a Z-Packs Nero instead of the Mountain Laurel Designs Prophet that I normally use. And I really liked it. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, a little bit more minimalist. And I have to say, it worked out pretty well, and I think it's probably going to be accompanying me on most of my hikes from now on. I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. I plan to keep making these videos. I don't have any trips planned at the moment, but there is a possibility of a Big Bend trip in November, and I'm sure as soon as the weather cools down in the next month or two, there will also be some kind of trip before then. Wait, hold on, stay there.